Hi, everybody. I want to share some quantitative data on membership and High Holy Day attendance in advance of our board meeting on Thursday. Sometimes it's hard to absorb a lot of data right in the moment. So by doing this, I hope we'll be able to have a more substantive conversation. So I'd like to just start with the information at the bottom of the membership report. This is our current census. We have 349 member units that have pledged for the 2022-23 year. In addition to that, we have 15 honorary member units, which include clergy, staff, and some of our members that are over 90. We have 8 families who are enrolled in the religious school and they're not yet pledged. Usually that's just feet dragging, and we're not particularly worried about those. Additionally, we have families that pledged in 21-22, but have not yet pledged in 22-23. There are 60 families. This is about 14% of our total census. Even though that's a large number, it's actually less than last year at this time, which was well over 70. And eventually we recovered essentially all of those families, completely due to Barbara's unrelenting effort to reach out to those families. We also have 46 families that are prospective members. The reason I'm sharing these numbers is these first two numbers, the pledged and honorary, these are the families that were eligible to receive tickets for High Holy Days. So those two numbers together are really important, and the rest of these folks were not. So if we look a little bit at the High Holy Day statistics, we'll start on the left-hand side. So we had 364 member units that were eligible for High Holy Day tickets. That's pledged and honorary. This account, these numbers, these families account for 927 individual people. Of those, 622 are adults and 305 of them are children 0 to 18. It did not actually include children between like children at home between 18 and 30, but it's a pretty small number. So think of this as being the number of people who were eligible to actually have tickets. These are all members, 927 people who are members. On the actual ticket side, we issued 867 tickets. Of those tickets, 750 of them went to members. So the two numbers that Rabbi and I have been canoodling through the past week or so is the comparison of this number to this number, the 750 to the 927. So 927 individuals were eligible, but only 750 of them actually requested tickets. That's about 81% of the eligible people. And a question that's weighing heavily on Rabbi's mind is what happened to the other 19%? And we can talk through what might have happened there. Additionally, we had 72 guest tickets issued and 45 non-member tickets. These were people who came and paid for the $180 passes to attend services. So again, the numbers to think about are we had 927 people eligible, and of those, 750 actually received tickets. The next slide combines both approximate and actual data, which is always a little bit sketchy, but I wanted to give you a sense of what we believe the new normal is in terms of High Holy Day attendance. So we had good registration numbers before Rosh Hashanah, at which point we closed registration. And these were the estimates. These are what people thought they were going to attend. So for example, Erev Rosh Hashanah, 256 people expressed interest in attending Erev Rosh Hashanah. And you can look at the rest of these here. It's just coincidental that both the 9 a.m. intergenerational service and the 11 a.m. Rosh Hashanah morning service had the same registration number. That was just a coincidence. So these are the registrants, what people expressed. And we use that information to think about actual seating in the sanctuary. Because if you recall, the center of the sanctuary was socially distanced. We put 6 feet, Jamel and his teams set up rows a good 6 feet apart. And that turned out to be fine. It was ample space, even though we had all of those seating stretched out. The approximate number of attendees, honestly, is just eyeballing. We had QR codes on the tickets, but it just seemed like it was going to be too much to ask the ushers to have to scan QR codes. So basically, we did this by eyeballing, and it could be off, by maybe 25 to 40 people per service. So kind of take this number with a grain of salt. It was certainly the case that the two 11 a.m. services on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah were the most attended, with probably definitely in the range of 250 people. On the Zoom side, we actually can count accurately the number of connections. We don't know how many people are sitting in front of the screen or the TV, but we know exactly how many people attended. And this was the maximum number of simultaneous connections. And you can see that the largest attendance was 75 connections on Yom Kippur morning. We're being a little generous, assuming that there were 2 people watching from home. That might be an overestimate. But if we take the approximate attendees and 2 people per connection, this kind of gives you a sense of what our total attendees are for services. With Erev Rosh Hashanah being like in the 280 range, and then in the morning about 235 for the intergenerational, and then 358 for the 11 a.m. and so on and so forth. I think what's interesting is if you combine the 2 morning services, right? 2 morning services here, you get just shy of 600. And if you take the 2 morning services on Yom Kippur, you go just north of 600. So that's an interesting number to think about. The 600 of people of the 700 or the 800 that had received tickets attended. So, and remember, Yom Kippur morning was just really miserable weather. So we're kind of considering this the new normal. And then the last thing I want to talk about, which we're going to discuss more at the meeting, is some of the suggested changes for next year. And these have come from congregants, from you all board members, from staff, from lots of sources. One suggestion is just to eliminate pre-registration for pledged members, and that brings us back to the way we used to issue tickets. We hopefully will never have to do this again for COVID or all of the vaccine attestation, all of that's over. We think that this year really does reset our in-person attendance to a new normal. So we feel that's pretty stable, and we certainly have ample space in the room. So pre-registering for space management doesn't seem to be necessary. But of course, we want to continue pre-registration for non-members so we can capture their information as well as for guests. And of course, the key reason to have tickets is, of course, for security, to ensure that every person is documented. Since we're not going to do pre-registration, we can just auto send the tickets to pledged members, either, about a month out, so people don't get anxious. And because we have lots of people who pledge in that last 30 days, we'd have to just send them out weekly afterwards. We did not know this. I did not know this, but in the past, adult children under 30 have received tickets, whether they're living at home or not. This year we did 25 or under. I don't think it makes that big of a difference, but if it makes people happy, that seems like a fair thing to do. Even though Rabbi announced from the pulpit, from the Bima multiple times, we really need to communicate clearly and repeatedly the difference between the worship experience at the intergenerational service at 9 a.m. and the traditional one at 11 a.m. But hopefully now that that's a new schedule, it's our second year with that schedule, that it'll become more familiar. And lastly, we have families now with lots of little ones. And there's a suggestion that we offer Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur morning service and sitting. So it's a combination of the children having their own service and also a little babysitting during the morning services for 6-year-olds and younger, which is returning to something we did a long time ago. So I hope this information is helpful to you, and we'll talk more about it at the board meeting. Thank you.